and I want to welcome you to today's Cyber Secure My Business webinar, which is focused on business identity theft. So many people think about business identity theft in terms of their personal identity. And so what we wanted to bring to light is that business identity can also be stolen. And so what are steps that you can take to protect yourselves? And so I want to let you know that this webinar is being recorded and will be shared with everyone at the conclusion of this and once we have it uploaded to the StaySafeOnline.org website. So then who is the National Cybersecurity Alliance? Let's start there. So this webinar is hosted by the National Cybersecurity Alliance, and we're a national nonprofit public-private partnership devoted to strengthening America's cybersecurity through education and awareness. And we do that through convening partners, by educating individuals and organizations, and by amplifying collective efforts, because we know we can't do everything ourselves. And so part of the way that we do these three buckets is through national large-scale campaigns. So for instance, we co-lead National Cybersecurity Awareness Month with the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. And so I'll be talking about how you can get involved in National Cybersecurity Awareness Month coming up once Brittany, our special guest, is finished speaking. We also lead Data Privacy Day, which is recognized every January 28th. And one of our key programs, and this webinar is part of it, is Cyber Secure My Business. And the Cyber Secure My Business program is really our national effort to educate small and medium-sized organizations on steps they can take to improve their security and their privacy. And so we provide a lot of information in the form of tip sheets, in the form of webinars like this series, in our newsletter, to help owners and operators and managers educate their employees and themselves, to improve their security of their enterprise, and to share information with their customers and business partners. Now, none of this would be possible without our sponsors, our national sponsors, which make all of this free to you. And so we want to thank our signature sponsor, Trend Micro, and our affiliate sponsor, Generali Global Assistance, again, who make all of this possible, make it free, and allow me to go around the country evangelizing small, medium-sized business cybersecurity. And so I want to thank them specifically. And so we have one of our sponsors on our webinar today from Generali Global Assistance. So we have Brittany Johnson, who's the marketing manager in Identity and Cyber Protection Services. And so she's going to provide the core of the content today for the next about 30 minutes. And then what we'll do is we'll talk about National Cybersecurity Awareness Month. And then we'll go into some Q&A and talk about some of our upcoming webinars that we have that you can also take advantage of. And so with that, Brittany, I'm going to turn it over to you. I'd love for you to say a little bit about kind of your role at Generali Global Assistance and Generali Global Assistance as a whole.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Daniel. And it's really good to be here. Thank you all for joining today. I know that you could have picked something else to do with your time, but we really do appreciate you joining and participating in this webinar. So I am the marketing manager at Generali Global Assistance. We provide businesses identity protection to then provide to their customers, employees, what have you, as a way of protecting all the consumers from such a fast-growing financial crime. You may not know it, but your employer may have identity protection through us. We do white label as well. So if you want more information on Generali Global Assistance, please feel free to visit our website, irisidentityprotection.com, for more information or to speak directly with a business development representative. So I wanted to just right into the webinar, Business Identity Theft, What You Should Know. So just like individual consumers, businesses are unfortunately not exempt from identity theft. Business can also fall victim to what's called business identity theft, which can have a huge impact on businesses, particularly small and mid-sized businesses, financials, credit standing, and brand and reputation in the marketplace. So today in this webinar, we're going to cover a good bit of stuff. So hopefully everyone's paying attention, but this webinar, like Daniel mentioned, will be recorded, so you can definitely take a listen back through as time permits. But today we're going to cover what business identity theft is, why small businesses are a target for this particular threat, a few examples of companies who have experienced business identity theft over the years, how fraudsters are able to commit this type of crime, tips to help you mitigate your risk of business identity theft, and as well, there's going to be a little bit of identity theft on the personal side of that. And then to end it, and if you have or do become a victim of business identity theft, who to report the crime to. So let's jump in with first defining business identity theft. Next slide, please. So in 2018, the National Cybersecurity published their business, one slide back, Daniel, sorry. In 2018, the National Cybersecurity published their business identity theft in the U.S. report, which was funded with a grant from the ITRC, Identity Theft Resource Center, and the Department of Justice Office for Victims of Crime. So there's a lot of research out there about this particular type of crime. So definitely take a moment to read the report for more details about their findings. According to NCSS, business identity theft is defined as a type of identity committed with the intent to defraud or hurt a business by creating, using, or attempting to use a business's identifying information without authority. So just to break it down a little bit more, the report goes into details about the types of business identity theft. According to the report, there's financial fraud, so obtaining new lines of credit, loans or credit cards in the business's name, or even filing fraudulent UCCs or Uniform Commercial Code filings. Tax fraud is another one, which, as an example, filing fraudulent returns using tax subsidies and or obtaining refunds through the federal and or state governments. And then, so financial fraud and tax fraud, those still familiar because those are particular types of fraud that can be committed against the consumer themselves. But the next couple are specifically toward businesses. Website defacement, it's pretty much how it sounds, manipulating a business's identity on the web. This type of business identity theft can not only negatively impact your business brand reputation, but it can also advertise that the site has a weak security, which may lead to additional attempts or of cyber attacks. And then lastly, the report defines it with trademark ransom. So this is registering the business name or logo as an official trademark and then demanding ransom for the release of the trademark business name or logo. So one thing to note with this, and we'll get into this in a little bit, that because cyber criminals are always on the lookout for how they can scam someone or scam a business, it's really important to protect your company's name by registering with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. So using the internet, criminals identify businesses who have not yet filed those trademarks on their name, and then they go ahead and file the application themselves and then hold your trademark for ransom, demanding that you pay a specific amount of money in order to get your company's name or logo back. So there are many facets to business identity theft that leads to the next question: why are small businesses a particular target for this type of crime? But first, I think it's important that we look at the criticalness for small businesses to understand their risk of identity theft. Next slide, please. So in Verizon's 2020 Data Breach Investigations report, it notes that 28% of cyber attacks target small businesses. And while that doesn't feel like a really big number, let's just put it into a little bit more perspective. It's important to note that 66% of small businesses had at least one cyber incident in the past 2 years. So it's still, despite that percentage being visibly smaller, it's still a very common cyber incident to be aware of. And in their most recent Cost of a Data Breach report, the Ponemon Institute found that the average data breach cost for organizations with less than 500 employees averaged $2.74 million. And that works out to be approximately just over $3,500 per employee. So this is much higher in cost relative to their size than larger organizations due to the total cost for organizations with more than 25,000 employees averaged to $5.11 million, but at approximately $204 per employee. So it's important to note that data breaches are a huge thing for not just small businesses, but large organizations as well. But keeping in mind of how much those data breaches are going to cost you financially and also on the brand reputation side. And the next stat, a recent Javelin identity theft study also made note that ransomware now accounts for 27% of malware incidents. Sorry, Daniel, back one slide. And so knowing that the widespread impact of identity theft is critical, not just to consumers, but also to businesses. And it's not just for trivia games, knowing all these fun stats, but it's also for your own benefit and knowing how serious these financial crimes are and how it can negatively impact your business. So what are the reasons why small businesses are a target for business identity theft? Next slide, please. I first want to be clear that cyber criminals, not to give them too much credit, they're clever. They'll research their targets online via dumpster diving. It sounds outdated, but they still do that. And they see what their vulnerabilities are and or areas they can exploit before making an attack. Small businesses are particularly a target for business identity theft due to they have larger bank account balances. It's an ease in which businesses have in opening new accounts, quick online applications, phone calls, things like that. Businesses also tend to have much higher credit limits on their financial accounts and or credit cards, much higher relative to the average consumer. Businesses are also typically, they have more flexibility or extended payment terms for paying on an invoice. This can range from 30 days to 90 days, sometimes even longer, depending on the vendor. So that's attractive to someone who's trying to commit some type of financial crime against you, that they know it's going to take a little bit longer for you to find out or figure that kind of crime out. And unfortunately, small businesses also tend to have minimal security in place. So this means in place of their website, online accounts, files, physical offices. This is another reason why small businesses are a particular target, because some of those security measures tend to go unnoticed or they're not addressed as quickly as their larger counterparts. And then there's another big reason why small businesses are a target for business identity theft. Most of the critical information needed, such as business employer identification number and their DUNS number, official mailing addresses, things like that, can easily be found on the web or through legal purchases of a business credit reporting. So it's important to note that, yes, your DUNS number, you should hold that like your social security number. It's really important that you not just share it with everyone, but it doesn't have the same protections, unfortunately, from just random people finding that information out. Next slide. And so just to highlight a few cases of business identity theft through the years, in Georgia, criminals purchased a prepaid cell phone and registered under the name Georgia Powers. So I'm not sure how many people are from Georgia or from the South in general, but there's an electric company in Georgia, Georgia Power. These cyber criminals were a little clever in putting an S at the end of it, just slightly changing the name of the real electric company in order to divulge customers' credit card information. So after activating their new phone, the criminals began calling Georgia Power clients and telling them a combination of lies that either their bills were overdue or the customer faced disconnection if they didn't pay immediately, as well as, okay, hey, your credit card has been compromised by scammers. This is a scammer talking to you. Your credit card has been compromised by scammers, and to leave their credit cards in their mailboxes. Unfortunately, since they were targeting seniors, they were able to swindle more than 80 seniors out of their money before getting caught by authorities. Another example, the next example is just last year, a man pleaded guilty to stealing $100 million from Google and Facebook via forged invoices, contracts, etc. The man first started by incorporating a company that posed as another company that Google and Facebook both worked with and were familiar with. The name of the company was Quanta. The man and his co-conspirators then created fairly convincing forged emails using fake email accounts, which looked like they were actually being sent from real employees of the company. And they sent phishing emails with fake invoices to employees at Facebook and Google who regularly conducted multi-million-dollar transactions with the company. And those employees responded by paying out more than $100 million to the fake company's bank account. So the reason why they were able to avoid suspicion for so long from the banks was by creating false supporting documents for their transactions, even when they use fake corporate fields embossed with the names of those companies, talk about the links that thieves will go to in order to steal money illegally, rather than making an honest living like most of us. Another example of business identity theft involving phishing can be found in the last example of a small manufacturing company losing over $120,000 in stolen company funds. Again, the scammers identified their target, which was a CFO, and posed as one of their clients asking to change the password on their account. That seemed like a normal request to get from a client that you've worked with so long that has a large amount of money with your company. So he didn't think much of it, and he just did it. A couple of weeks later, the company started receiving emails and phone calls from other clients about an email they received from the CFO asking for really sensitive financial information. They ultimately, the small manufacturing company, ultimately looked deeper into the issue and realized funds were stolen before contacting the appropriate authorities. So they were able to get their money back pretty immediately because they did do a deeper look into what was going on, especially from hearing from so many other customers that they were receiving these fraudulent emails from the CFO. These examples are important to note because they highlight how much more diligent and observant we all have to be in our communications with not just external stakeholders, but internal stakeholders as well, and just how easy it is for anyone really to fall victim to these types of attacks. Next slide. So how can cyber criminals commit these crimes? Well, starting with a company's employer identification number and their DUNS, or Data Universal Numbering System, which is managed by Dun & Bradstreet. For better or for worse, both of these numbers are fairly easy for anyone to get. A person can call and request the information from a company's payroll and accounting departments. Information about your business is also publicly available at the state registry office with Dun & Bradstreet. These open records are available to facilitate trade and financial transactions. However, thieves utilize these open records to find businesses with good credit to steal. By accessing online state records, they can change information about your business, such as the name of the registered agent, owners, address, and revenue. This new business information is then shared with the credit reporting agencies. And once an altered identity is created, the criminals use this information to make online applications for credit cards, and new lines of credit. So a business owner only knows this has happened when someone calls due to non-payment. So it's really important to monitor your credit report, your business credit report, and to stay aware of what's happening with your business. This information can also be shared with business owners. Other employees are shopping for other services such as loans, marketing assistance, insurance accounts, etc. And unfortunately, sometimes some of those companies turn out to be untrustworthy with such critical information. So it's really important to look into who you're sharing this kind of sensitive information with before you conduct any business with them. Next slide. So after a cyber criminal has access to your EIN or DUNS information, they can commit tax fraud, credit card fraud, along with opening fraudulent loans under the business's name. In most cases, having a company's EIN and other publicly available information can be enough to file fraudulent tax returns and apply for business credit cards. It can also be used to deploy phishing and business email compromise attacks. And then it's important to note, in 2019, the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center, also known as IC3, received nearly 24,000 BEC complaints, so business email compromise complaints, with adjusted losses of over $1.7 billion. So this is a pretty big deal. Scammers have unfortunately found success in email-based attacks, so that's why we all have to do our part, not just with deleting the scam email from your inbox as soon as you get it, but also letting other people know in your organization, in your networks about the scam so they don't fall victim to it either. Next slide. So how can we mitigate our risk of business identity theft? First, it's important to understand the value of your EIN and your DUNS numbers. Again, they're pretty much like your social security number for your business, so it's really important to protect those as much as you can by first determining who needs access to your EIN and DUNS number. Despite both pieces of data being available to the public, you don't have to make it easy for scammers to find it. So that means not posting on your website or having it in your email or even sharing it via text with an unfamiliar business or person. So similar to you wouldn't share your social security number via text or with someone that you don't know, same should go for your DUNS number as well. It's important to also conduct web searches of your business. Regularly monitor your business credit cards, credit reports, and just making note of what all is happening to your business. There could be loans out there or unpaid invoices. So it's just keeping it top of mind to regularly monitor your business credit reports, not just once a year or even twice a year. You should be doing it as often as you possibly can, just like your own individual credit report. It's important to screen companies before conducting any business with them. You don't know what's going on in someone's life. You don't know what their intents are. You need to really protect yourself as much as possible by doing your due diligence and making sure that this company is legitimate, that they have conducted business legitimately, and that there are no red flags that you should be aware of. Also using antivirus software and keeping it updated. It's important to really keep all of your software updated as much as possible. It's really easy. I have an iPhone. It's really easy to just see the update and just click ignore or remind me later, but you should really keep all of your software updated. You don't know if the firm or the company that is pushing out those updates are pushing out patches like security patches or new security features. So it really behooves you to make sure that all of your software is updated, and especially your antivirus software. Securing your networks, that's another one. Not just your Wi-Fi, which means having it password protected, not making it so visible and so easy for anyone to just jump onto your Wi-Fi connection, but also securing your own offices, and we have that at the end there, monitor and control your physical access to your physical office access. So that means like if employees need fobs or badges, making sure that maybe there's a security guard standing outside the office so people aren't just coming in and out or like, or trying to catch the person going in and they're like piggybacking off of that. You really need to make sure that your physical access is controlled and monitored at all times. And then using strong passwords and a multi-factor authentication. So it's really easy to get into the groove of using the same password over and over, or just changing the last couple of letters or the first couple of letters of your password, but they need to be unique passwords for every login that you do have. Cyber criminals, like I said before, not to give them too much credit, they are clever, they're smart. They will make note that Brittany Johnson uses this particular password 123 password exclamation point, and then on maybe my Facebook, I have it password 123 exclamation point. You need to make it as difficult as possible for your passwords to be cracked, and also to help you with that, using a multi-factor authentication. So there is more layers to your login. So just in case your email address gets hacked or compromised, there's still a way for you to have more security over your email and other accounts. And then just as importantly, making cybersecurity part of your company culture. It's important that we all do our part in this. It's not just up to the business owner to have cybersecurity plans in place. It's up to the individual employee as well. It has to be across-the-board trainings for employees, keeping it top of mind of what phishing emails look like, what scams look like that can really do damage to your business. And again, this isn't like a once-a-year kind of training. These are like regular trainings that you do with your employees and regular conversations that you have. If you do get emails of scams, definitely send that over to your IT department if you have one, but making sure that other employees are aware that, hey, I got this scam, I got this scam email, I knew that it wasn't from the CEO, just want you to know you couldn't be receiving it as well. So it's really important that we all do our part in this and we all make everyone aware of how serious an issue identity theft in general is. And so again, with making it part of your culture, maintaining an up-to-date cybersecurity response plan. How do you respond once a data breach has happened? How do you respond if you find yourself like the small manufacturing company losing $120,000 in company funds? How do you respond to that? Who needs to be involved? What departments need to be involved in those decision-making processes? So it's important that, again, everyone has a seat at the table for this kind of issue. So it's important that everyone does their part for it. Again, providing ongoing training, not just for phishing, but also malware, ransomware, any kind of cybersecurity threat that could be an issue for your business. And then lastly, if funds do allow, you should consider a comprehensive identity protection service. Not just monitoring your credit report, that is equally important, but monitoring your business on the dark web, having those kind of comprehensive features, it really does relieve more stress from you, and also on the business side, there's not as much risk that you're going to miss something as you look at your credit report. You're not going to miss something as you monitor your business's presence on the web and what have you. There are many companies that offer these kind of services, so if funds do allow, it's important to consider a comprehensive identity protection service. And then last slide. So what happens if you do become a victim of business identity theft? So the first step is always start with a police report. You're going to need that in order to speak with your financial institutions and so forth throughout this process. The next thing is to file a complaint with the FTC. You can do so at identitytheft.gov. It's important for the FTC to stay apprised of these types of crimes, to collect more information about what's going on in the marketplace, what's happening to consumers as well as businesses. So it's important to let the FTC know about the financial crime as well. And then report it to your financial institution. You may have to report it to multiple financial institutions just in case the crime originated from another state, but that is the next step of reporting it to your financial institution. Then you should report the theft to the IRS and your local state administrations. You should also consider placing a fraud alert on your business credit report. You can do so by contacting the 4 credit reporting agencies, Bradstreet, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. And then finally, file a complaint with the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center if you do become a victim of business email compromise or ransomware or even a cyber attack. They do collect that information and they publish that report every year. So it's important that they are kept apprised of these common threats as well. And that is the end of the presentation. Hopefully everyone got good information from that, but I'm interested in hearing everyone's questions.
And so I've included Brittany's information, Generali's Twitter handle, and the irisidentityprotection.com website if you'd like to learn more. And also, I would just want to be sure that you follow the National Cybersecurity Alliance online. And if you would like to participate in any of our future webinars, you can view those and register at StaySafeOnline.org. And again, I want to thank Brittany and Generali Global Assistance for spending this hour with us and giving us all the great information. We have a lot of thank yous in the chat box. So mission accomplished.
Thank you all for participating and joining the webinar. I really enjoyed being with all of you and sharing this hopefully valuable information.